I came on the Flotilla as so many other healthcare workers did to provide medical and humanitarian aid to people in Gaza. We've been aware of what's been happening throughout the genocide and many years before that, and the terrible treatment of the Palestinian people, and in particular the attacks on healthcare.
All right, we're about to show you some pictures of what happened to those folks who were on the flotilla. It is not good. So brace for impact on it. You're about to see how disgusting the Israeli government is. Yaz, tell us about it.
Yeah, so now at least 15 of the activists who are on that flotilla who are detained in Israel, at least 15 of them are reporting that they were raped or otherwise sexually assaulted. And several activists have since been hospitalized with injuries. Before we go on, I do want to hear more from that Australian doctor.
Intervention, they were quite aggressive. They were firing. They were not, they probably weren't live bullets, but they were firing projectiles at our boat. They didn't hit anybody. They were very rough with us when they took us onto the prison boat. We were kept on a boat which essentially had no, it was just like a yard with containers around it, no mattresses. My boat, we were made to, we had none of the severe violence that happened on the second boat, but once we got back to the port, we were dragged off the boat, forced into a stress position. We were kept there for over an hour while the Israeli soldiers played the national anthem over and over again, and they were saying, "Welcome to Israel," and being brutal with people. They were hitting people, kicking people.
So she did go on to say that they were treated worse than any decent person would treat an animal. And she said that even her medical colleagues were badly beaten, and then they were forced to try to take care of others without having access to any medical supplies. And another activist, this one is from France, he had this to say about his experience.
Actually, when they arrested us on the sea, it was different in every boat. But in our boat, it was quiet. We stayed really quiet, really pacifist since the beginning to the end. Like when they beat me, it was for no reason, absolutely. Like I was not upgrading, escalating, not answering at them, not watching them in their eyes, nothing. Just saying I'm pacifist. Just they did it systematically.
Yeah, so you can see there that he did have a black eye, but here's a look at his back, and you can see that it is covered in injuries from rubber bullets, and also next to him there's someone else who, I don't know what happened to his thigh, but it looks like nothing good happened there. We also have Alessandro Mantovani. He is an Italian journalist, and he had this to say about the experience. He said, it was a place of terror, basically a square of containers where they kept people inside with bread and water, though not much water at first, according to what those who had been there for a day told me. We were on one of the last boats they took, so when we arrived, there were people who had been there for a while since the day before, and as soon as you entered the reception container, they beat you up. And he said they really beat you up. Beat you up means they kicked me in the legs and punched me in the face. These are people who know what they're doing, so I don't have any visible marks. And also there was Luca Poggi, he's an Italian economist among those detained from the flotilla. And he told Reuters on his arrival in Rome, we were stripped, thrown to the ground, kicked. Many of us were tasered, some were sexually assaulted, and some were denied access to a lawyer. And Israel, of course, has denied all of this, but here is Itamar Ben-Gvir, the Israeli National Security Minister, mocking and taunting the pro-Palestinian activists. Take a look.
Free, free Palestine! Check it, check it, check it.
ברוכים הבאים לישראל, אנחנו בעלי הבית. ככה צריך. ישראל חי. עם ישראל חי. כן.
זיכוי, כל המטרה כאן זה לראות שאין אנשים בתהליך.
לא להתרגש מהצעקות שלהם, לא להתרגש.
Okay, so he posted that to his own social media account on X with the caption, "Welcome to Israel." And if any of this sounds familiar to you, it's because this seems to be their MO. This is what they do. Greta Thunberg reported very similar conditions when she went to Israel on an earlier flotilla. She said at the time that she was, yes, beaten. She was given insufficient and unsanitary food and water. She was held in a cell that was infested with insects. And she was also made to hold flags, though it was never confirmed that they were Israeli flags, but I feel like they were Israeli flags. Cenk, this is terrible, but I'm glad they're out. I'm glad that they're getting the medical care that they need now.
Yeah, so first of all, those activists on the flotilla are absolute heroes, drawing attention to what's happening in Israel and how brutal the Israeli government has been. And if you're on a flotilla, you know that Israel is going to beat you and probably torture you when you land because it's a fascist government. It's like sailing into Nazi Germany. Obviously, they're going to beat you and torture you. And since the Israelis are fascist, they're now doing that to everyone. So in the beginning, it was the Palestinians that they abused over and over for decade after decade. They killed them, took their land over and over again, and then American media covered up and said, oh, no, it's the Palestinians that are the terrorists. The Israelis are the victims, even though they're the ones occupying the Palestinians and they've taken almost all their land. So the American media has been the Goebbels to Israel's government. And so they've been protecting Israel with overwhelming propaganda. The problem is now Israel has gone beyond the Palestinians to almost everyone. So they now are attacking 7 of their neighbors in the Middle East, including Lebanon. They drove out 1 million people, but also in Lebanon, there are Christians. So now it's all the Arabs, not just Muslims, but also Christians. Now there's Christians in Gaza and the West Bank that they've greatly abused as well. Again, you never hear about that because American media works for Israel. So they cover up all of their war crimes, all of their crimes against humanity. Was there big news over and over again about how those activists were severely beaten in cable news? No, of course not. It's the Israeli protection racket. So they try to shield that from you. But now we have online media, so they can kiss our ass. We're gonna show you the truth about how disgusting this current Israeli government is. The rest of us all know that they're fascist. The people on cable news can pretend to be offended by that. And they're not offended by the vicious crimes of Israel. They're only offended if you offend the Israelis. Oh my God, you've hurt Ben Gvir's feelings. Well, how are the feelings of the fascists doing? I don't give a damn how the fascists are feeling these days. You saw the pictures with your own eyes. They beat the living crap out of them. They do it every time. You saw the video. Not only do they put them in a stress position, which is considered torture in and of itself if you leave them there long enough in that position, but obviously they're doing that position so that their heads are on the ground and they look like they're bowing to the Israelis, because the Israelis love to humiliate anyone who isn't Israeli. They love to show their power. And now it's not just Christians and Muslims in the Middle East, they're now doing it to Westerners from Europe. And this is basically them saying, we control you. There's nothing you could do in Europe. There's nothing you could do in America, nothing you could do in the Middle East. We will abuse you, we will abuse your citizens, we will take your money, we will make you go into wars, and that's because we're your overlords. And you will bow and you will kneel to us. And that is what is happening. They just bought Tom Massey's seat in the 4th District of Kentucky, and what is our media doing? The giant liars who work for Israel are like, it had nothing to do with Israel. No, don't look at the $16 million they spent on that race. Don't look at the fact that Tom Massey has won each race easily, even when Donald Trump opposed them earlier. No, it's about Trump, it's not about Israel. It's not about Israel, why? Why are you hiding the $16 million in bribes that Ed Galrine took from the Israeli lobby to defeat Tom Massey? Why are you hiding that 94% of our corrupt Congress takes money from the Israeli lobby? But when you point out facts and reality, what does our media do? They're like, oh, you're an anti-Semite. Vicious genocide is not a problem. Torture is not a problem. Humiliating all the rest of us is not a problem. Taking hundreds of billions of dollars from us for their wars and genocide is not a problem. It's $8 trillion attacking all of Israel's neighbors is not a problem. The only problem is if you criticize the most precious and important people on earth, the Israelis. That is how every disgusting person in mainstream media in America acts. Not a single cable news anchor has condemned a genocide. Chris Hayes has allowed others to say the word genocide on his air. He's the reigning champion because he's allowed the word on his show. The rest of them, dogs, so-called progressives on MS Now, who haven't said a word about the genocide, who don't talk about how the Israelis viciously terrorize the Palestinians and now everyone who disagrees with them, how they starved those poor kids to death in Gaza, how they displaced 1 million people in Lebanon, almost never reported on cable news. Well, the Israelis are torturers. The Israelis are fascists. And if you say you're offended by that, then you're a bad person. You're an evil person who goes, my ethnicity above all. Who cares that we're torturing? Who cares that my beloved Israeli government is committing a genocide, that they murdered 23,000 kids in Gaza? If you think that's not important, but your stupid feelings are important, then you're an immoral person. You put your own ethnic identity above others. Nobody's putting your identity below anyone. We're saying you should be equal, but they say, no, you serve Israel. And if you don't, we're gonna try to destroy you. Well, the rest of the world is vomiting up Israeli propaganda. We've seen too many of us now tortured and beaten and humiliated by the Israelis. All across the world, rise up, rise up, rise up against your own governments, the servants of a country whose population is the size of Papua New Guinea. The whole world is reporting to this tiny little country who's got our leaders, yes, by the testicles, and they are squeezing and squeezing, and our leaders are squealing and serving them instead of us. If you're a European or you're an American or you're anywhere in the world and you saw the Israelis do this to your citizens, and your leader said that you have to bow and kneel to Israel instead of sticking up for your own citizens, get rid of your government, because they're not your government. They're Israel's representatives and servants. Anyone who votes for someone who kisses Israel's ass in a different country is betraying their own country. You'd have to be out of your mind to vote for anyone who says that we should serve Israel, whether it's in America, Europe, or anywhere else. Cut off all ties. If they don't want to listen to any rules or laws, if they say they are so much better than the rest of us, they are superior to the rest of us, well, brothers and sisters, then it's time for us to enforce international law and rules against Israel. They do not get to say, we are above you. We get to do anything we want to you. We get to beat you and embarrass you, and you have to do it. Otherwise, we're gonna ruin you. All right, would you like to be ruined back? Oh, how dare you, my feelings, my feelings. How about the feelings of the people you tortured? How about the feelings of the 23,000 dead kids in Gaza and the 1 million people you've displaced in Lebanon and all the land you've stolen? Yes, they stole that land. It's not, the Palestinians didn't go for a picnic. The Lebanese didn't go for a picnic. Israel stole it. They stole it. And our stupid, lying propagandist media in America bowing down to them. Our government bowing down to Israel and saying, if you don't bow down, we'll try to ruin your life. Well, you're proving even more that you're a servant of Israel. This is a free show in what's supposed to be a free country. America, rise up. Get our country back. On the 250th anniversary of our independence, we need independence one more time from this disgusting fascist state of Israel. Young Turks. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.